I got the idea to do this last week Wednesday. No, that's a lie. Last week Friday night, Saturday. I was watching a lady's story on YouTube about how God helped her overcome some of the things that she was facing. And it dawned on me, you know what? God has done a lot for me. And though I've talked to the kids in my church about it and different people at different times, I realized that I really haven't shared the story the way I want to share it. I've always told myself, let me wait for an opportunity at church, or not my church, because my church knows my story, but a different church. An opportunity to come up where I can share what God has done for me with other people. An opportunity never arose, never came. And then I realized after seeing this lady's story that, you know what, the opportunity has always been there. It's just a matter of looking in the right place. So here I am. I'm going to share how God helped me overcome my addictions to pornography and to video games. And for you to understand how much of an addiction this was to me, I need to take you back a little bit into my childhood, into where it started. I first bought a pornographic magazine when I was 8 years old. I remember walking into the corner store, 125th and Broadway, down by McDonald's, right where the 1 train is. I remember walking into the store, and I walked up to the owner of the store and I said, listen, my dad gave me the money to buy this magazine for him. Can I buy it? I was 8 years old, 3rd grade. And he was like, you got the money, you buy, not a problem. And ever since then, that's where I went to buy my magazines at the age of 8. Not too long after that, I started playing video games. This is when video games first started coming out, so I used to take my quarters. Instead of going to piano lessons, I would take my quarters, go to the arcade, and spend all my money playing video games. So even at a young age, I got hooked into porn, I got hooked into video games. And when I got to school, got to college, I just went crazy. Everything that I felt I was restricted in doing, I just started doing even more of. So video games became more of my life. And I remember spending, and those of you who are watching that know me, you look at it and say, oh, I know, Ram, how you doing? Watching it, when I looked at it, I look back, Madden football, the hockey games, the street fighting games, all the games, I just got hooked. I played and played and played and played and played. Whenever there was a new game that came out, I would spend all night playing, practicing, trying to learn the moves. You have some people who do one thing and just press all kinds of buttons. Me, I would study the manual, trying to figure out what to do. So everything about me was involved in games. And if it wasn't games, then it was porn or my girlfriends that I had, you know, just running around doing different things. So from a young age, I'm 37 now. So you can say from the age of 8, 29 years of being hooked into this lifestyle of just gratifying self, just looking at what I want and going for it and not putting any checks and balances. And yes, along the way from time to time, I've tried to stop and say, okay, no, I shouldn't do this. Because in the back of my mind, I always knew that what I was doing was not the right thing. It's not what God wanted. And even though I knew it wasn't what God wanted, I still went ahead and did it. I remember when I moved off campus and I got my own apartment, that's when things got really bad, except I didn't realize they were bad. You're talking about a person that grew up in the church from like, since I was, you could say I was born in the church. My mother gave birth to me in the church. You can say it was like that. And here I am now 22, living off campus, my own apartment, got a little job. Literally, I would come home Fridays from work. As a Christian, I should be going to church Saturday. I would come home Friday from work and I would start playing video games from, let's say, 7 o'clock Friday afternoon, straight through all the way till Monday morning, 5:30, 6 a.m. Stop going to use the bathroom, grab a slice of pizza, which I ordered, and that was it. I had 3 games. I would play one. When I got tired of that one, I went to the next one. When I got tired of that one, I went to the 3rd one. When I got tired of the 3rd one, I was ready for the 1st one. So it was just a cycle. And if I got tired of video games, period, then it was sports on TV or pornographic videotape or something. And at that time still, the internet wasn't as big as it is now, so the accessibility to porn wasn't as easy as it is now. So I'm going through all this history to let you know. Here's a young man that struggled with this, was hooked on it, enjoyed it, and yet after 29 years, God gave me the victory. And the point of this is to share with you how God gave me the victory and how God helped me overcome, because I really believe that if God can help me, and I'm not the only one, if God can help me, he can help you overcome any addiction or any sin, or as Paul says in the Bible, that key sin that so easily besets you. Now, I know some people watching this are going to be like, yeah, well, I don't believe in God. To you, I say simply this. Back in the day, people used to say, you know what? The world is flat. They didn't believe that it was round. Now we know the world is round. Your belief or disbelief that God doesn't exist doesn't mean that he doesn't exist. And my belief that he does exist doesn't mean that he does exist. God is there. And one day we'll look back at this time and say, you know what? He was right, or he was wrong. So I'll leave it to you. But all I know is through God, I am where I am. So I know that God exists. Now, to continue, how God gave me the victory. As I said, I struggled from time to time. I had my ups, I had my downs. When I finally got the victory, when I finally overcame the addiction to porn, the addiction to video games, it was when I realized a few things. I realized that God's Spirit lives in me, and that I am a holy being, that I am God's temple, and his literal spirit dwells within me, and I'm supposed to keep this body pure. I'm supposed to keep this body holy. That thought sunk into my head, and I got that. And then I asked myself a couple of questions, and these questions I want you to ask yourself and answer them honestly. Question 1. Does God want you to stop what you are doing? Answer to that is obviously yes. God, of course, does not want you to sin. He doesn't want you to be involved in any activity that's going to keep you from enjoying what he has for you. So if the answer to this question is yes, God wants me to stop, the next question you have to ask yourself is, can God help me to stop sinning? And the Bible tells us, God says in his word, that we can do all things through him that gives us the strength, that there is no temptation we face that we can't overcome with God's help.